Here are the top stories this hour. 30 drowned after boat accident in Kebbi, Nigeria. Dozens killed at oil refinery explosion in Nigeria. 12 infants dead after political crisis in India. Welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I am Kayla Abraham. No fewer than 30 persons reportedly drowned as the boat carrying over 50 passengers capsized in Yauri local government area of Kebbi State, Nigeria on Monday. Confirming the incident through a telephone conversation, the chairman of Yauri local government area, Bala Yauri, stated that the incident has left the people of the local government area in deep sorrow. He stated that the efforts are in top gear by local divers to locate the corpses of the passengers who drowned in the river. Also speaking, a witness of the incident, Alhaji Sani Yauri, confirmed that the accident was caused by a heavy wind, which resulted in the driver losing control of the boat. Meanwhile, efforts to speak with the spokesman of the Nigerian police force in the state, Nafiu Abubakar, was not successful as he neither responded to calls nor responded to messages sent to him at the time of filing this report. Meanwhile, dozens of persons have died following an explosion and fire at an illegal oil refinery in Nigeria's south. The incident is said to have happened late on Sunday in Rivers State, but it was only widely reported on Tuesday. The state commandant of Nigeria's Security and Civil Defense Corps, Basil Igwebweze, confirmed to reporters. He stated that 18 persons were burnt beyond recognition, while 25 were rescued. Igwebweze blamed people who vandalize oil pipelines and operate illegal refineries for the deadly incident. Illegal refining is common in the region, with locals tapping oil from pipelines to sell. Last year, more than 100 persons died following an explosion at an illegal oil refinery in Imo State, Nigeria. Still, Nigerian police have taken into custody the singer and songwriter Naira Marley in connection with the death of Afrobeat star Mohbad. Lagos Police spokesman Benjamin Hunde stated that Marley was being held for interrogation and other investigation activities. Naira Marley also shared on X, formerly called Twitter, that he was assisting authorities with investigation into Mohbad's death, and he was meeting with the police with hopes for the truth to be uncovered and for justice to prevail. Mohbad died mysteriously at a Lagos hospital on 12 September and was hurriedly buried by his family. The death of the 27-year-old star triggered protests and calls for investigations from his fans, which led to police exhuming his body for an autopsy. Fans particularly directed their anger towards Naira Marley, who had signed Mohbad under his Malian Records music label. Mohbad left the label last year after falling out with Naira Marley. Following his death, several videos of Mohbad complaining about his relationship with the Malian Records resurfaced. Now, 12 infants have died in one day at a hospital in the Indian state of Maharashtra, sparking a political storm on Tuesday, with opposition politicians accusing the regional government and hospital authorities of negligence. Hospital officials and local media stated that the infants died on Sunday and were among 24 deaths recorded that day at the Shankarao Chavan Government Hospital in the Nanded district, some 600 kilometers from India's financial capital, Mumbai. The Dean of Shankarao Chavan Hospital did not respond to requests for comment on this allegation or opposition accusations of negligence, saying in a brief phone call that he had no time because a government minister was visiting the premises. Earlier on Tuesday, the dean told journalists that the 12 adult patients died of various ailments, including diabetes, liver failure, and kidney failure. The Maharashtra government disclosed on Tuesday that it had launched an inquiry into the death of the infant and other patients on Sunday. Now, the Philippine Coast Guard has stated that 3 Filipino fishermen died in the disputed South China Sea after their boat was accidentally hit by a passing commercial vessel. The fisherman's boat, FB DRN, was moored in a fishing area in the high seas of the northwestern Philippines when it was hit before dawn on Monday by the passing vessel and capsized, killing its keeper and 2 crew members. The Coast Guard disclosed on Wednesday that 3 other fishermen survived without elaborating. A separate police report disclosed that the 3 fishermen died due to possible head trauma from the collision, and their bodies were brought back to shore by the surviving fishermen. There was no indication that the deadly accident was related to the long-simmering territorial disputes in the busy waterway. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., expressed sadness over the death of the fisherman and said a Coast Guard investigation was underway. The Coast Guard disclosed in a statement that an initial assessment based on the surviving fisherman's account and sea traffic at the time of the incident indicated that a crude oil tanker under the flag of the Marshall Islands may have hit the Filipino fishing boat. The Philippine Coast Guard mentioned that it would try to locate the oil tanker and its crew as part of the investigation. Now, more than 23 Indian Army personnel are missing after a cloudburst triggered a flash flood in northeastern Sikkim state. Defense spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Mahendra Rawat said early on Wednesday that due to a sudden cloudburst over Lunak Lake in North Sikkim, a flash flood occurred in the Tista River in Lakhin Valley. Some army establishments along the valley have been affected and efforts are on to confirm details. The statement noted that the release of water from the Chuntang Dam led to a sudden increase in the water level up to 50 to 20 feet high downstream. The statement also mentioned that this has led to army vehicles packed at Badang near Singtam getting affected. 23 personnel have been reported missing and some vehicles are reported submerged under the slush, adding that search operations are underway. Now, at least 4 people have been wounded, non-critically, in a shooting at Morgan State University in Baltimore on Tuesday, while authorities urged students to take shelter on the campus of the historically black college. The Baltimore Police Department initially mentioned that officers were on the scene for an active shooter situation. Police kept the campus on lockdown for hours and provided little information about their investigation. The address given for the shooting appeared to match a residential building that's on the same block as a city police station. Police spokesperson Vernon Davis told the Baltimore Banner that at least 4 people were shot. Police spokesperson Amanda Krotsky also mentioned that there were multiple victims with non-life-threatening injuries. No arrests were announced. At the scene on Tuesday night, officers were blocking off the south entrance to campus near dorm buildings while a police helicopter circled overhead. The shooting happened amid a week of activities ahead of the school's homecoming game on Saturday. Now, the police has disclosed that the teenage boy who allegedly shot 2 people dead and wounded 5 others inside a major shopping mall in the center of Thailand's capital used a mock handgun that had been modified to fire real bullets on Wednesday. The suspect was taken into custody less than an hour after the first gunshot on Tuesday afternoon at the Siam Paragon Mall, one of Bangkok's biggest and most upscale shopping destinations. Videos showed a long-haired teenage boy in the custody of police. Major Thai media reported he was 14 years old and a student at a prominent private school. Recently appointed police chief confirmed only that he is a minor and had a record of being treated for mental illness. Assistant National Police Chief Samran Walma mentioned at a news conference on Wednesday that the weapon used was a plastic gun and adapted to use with real bullets. It has variously been described as originally intended to fire blanks or BBS. Samran disclosed that the authorities were looking into the regulation of such items. Mock weapons are popular among military buffs in Thailand and can be freely purchased. Licensing of real guns is restricted and limited to people 20 years or older. The penalty for unlawful possession of a firearm is up to 10 years in prison and a fine of $538. The Minister of Tourism and Sports confirmed at the news conference that a Chinese citizen and a Myanmar citizen had died. She stated 5 people were hospitalized, 1 from China, 1 from Laos, and 3 Thais, and that several were in critical condition. Now, a handful of Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives on Tuesday ousted Republican Speaker Kevin McCarthy as party infighting plunged Congress into further chaos just days after it narrowly averted a government shutdown. The 216 to 210 votes marked the first time in history that the House removed its leader, with 8 Republicans voting with 208 Democrats to remove McCarthy. McCarthy told reporters he would not make another run for Speaker. The House looked set to go leaderless for at least a week as multiple Republicans said they plan to meet on October 10 to discuss possible McCarthy successors successors with a vote on a new speaker plan for October 11. Tuesday's rebellion was led by Representative Matt Gaetz, a far-right Republican from Florida and McCarthy antagonist who finally turned on the speaker after he on Saturday relied on Democratic votes to help pass a bill to avoid a partial government shutdown. Now, Typhoon Koino grounded towards southern Taiwan on Wednesday, bringing heavy rain and winds and causing the cancellation of more than 100 flights and suspension of work and schools in urban areas in southern parts of the island from the evening. According to Tropical Storm Risk, Koino is expected to make landfall on Taiwan's southeastern coast near the city of Taitung on Thursday morning as a Category 3 typhoon, but then weaken as it crosses the island's southern tip and enters the Taiwan Strait. The heaviest rain will fall along mountainous and sparsely populated parts of Pingtung County in the south and the east coast counties of Taitung and Haoliang, but the typhoon will also affect the major southern port city of Kaohsiung. In Taitung, fishermen secured the boats in port as waves gradually became more intense along Taiwan's east coast. Kaohsiung and its neighboring city of Tainan stated that they would suspend work and classes from 6 p.m. on Wednesday as the weather worsens. Taiwan's capital Taipei was lashed by squally rain showers, but it was not expected to be directly impacted by the typhoon, and offices and schools remained open as normal. Now, South Korea's defense ministry has warned on Wednesday that North Korea will witness the end of its regime if it makes any efforts to employ nuclear weapons. The statement comes in response to Pyongyang's recent revision of its constitution to firmly establish its nuclear stance. In addition, the ministry pointed out that North Korea is openly striving to enhance its nuclear capabilities, even as the well-being of its citizens has been severely impacted. North Korea's recent action follows the implementation of a new nuclear law in September of the previous year, which sanctioned the preemptive use of nuclear weapons and declared its status as a nuclear state irreversible. South Korea has previously issued similar warnings to North Korea. During an Armed Forces Day ceremony last month, President Yoon Suk-yeol stated that North Korean regime would face its demise through the South Korea-US alliance if it were to employ nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, North Korea has dismissed a Pentagon report describing Pyongyang as a persistent threat, saying the world's biggest threat of weapons of mass destruction comes from the U.S. on Wednesday. Pyongyang criticized the U.S. for revealing its dangerous intention for aggression to threaten the North and seize global military hegemony. Such threats have compelled Pyongyang to strongly counter the powerful deterrence, the ever more reckless medium and long-term threats posed by the U.S. seeking to use UMDs against the DPRK. During a crucial parliamentary meeting attended last week by leader Kim Jong-un, North Korea included provision in its constitution to bolster its nuclear capabilities. The move came a year after it passed a new law allowing the preemptive use of nuclear weapons and declared its status as a nuclear state irreversible. The U.S. Defense Department described Iran and North Korea as persistent threats in a strategy for countering weapons of mass destruction released last Thursday. Russia is viewed as an acute threat, and China remains a pacing challenge. Now, on a visit to Armenia, French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna mentioned in Paris had agreed to deliver military equipment to Yerevan. Meanwhile, Armenia's parliament voted to join the International Criminal Court to the dismay of Russia. Colonna traveled to Armenia on Tuesday after Azerbaijani forces last month swept through the breakaway region of Nagorno-Karabakh and secured the surrender of Romanian separatist forces that had controlled the mountainous region for decades. France's top diplomat declined to provide any details. France, which has a large Armenian diaspora, has traditionally helped mediate the decades-old territorial disputes between Armenia and Azerbaijan over Karabakh. At the end of August, a group of French politicians led by Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo traveled to mountain pass separating Armenia from Nagorno-Karabakh with Red Cross aid convoy, but were refused entry. Now, thousands took to the street of Ghana's capital, Accra, on Tuesday, demanding the central bank governor to be removed for what they say is the mismanagement of the economy during the worst debt crisis in a generation. The demonstrations are the latest show of frustration with rises living cost, joblessness, and hardship in one of West Africa's largest economies. Similar multi-day protests gripped the capital last month. The crowd marched to the central bank's head office under the watch of riot police, blaring reggae from speakers and calling for Bank Governor Ernest Addison and his two deputies to resign. Many were dressed in red and black colors typically worn at funerals. Ghana's central bank in July posted a record loss of 60.8 billion cedi for 2020, mostly due to debt restructuring. Ghana, which produces gold, oil, and cocoa, has sealed a deal with an International Monetary Fund for a $3 billion three-year loan program to help redress the situation. Debt restructuring is one of the conditions to obtain those funds. Addison, who has been in post since 2017 and whose tenure runs for another 2 years, stated last month that improved economic indicators would soon lead to higher incomes and purchasing power. But a stabler exchange rate, lower inflation, and more robust growth have not yet helped those struggling to make ends meet. Now, Kenya's government has banned public officials from taking non-essential trips abroad as part of efforts to cut spending. Felix Koskei stated on Monday that this included travel for benchmarking, study, training, and research, the country's head of public service. Conferences are also among the events categorized as non-essential. Koskei directed government officials to participate in such events virtually or ask diplomatic officials in host countries to attend. According to local media, officials spent $94 million on travel within the first 9 months of President William Ruto taking office. He also capped the delegations of ministers and governors to 3 persons and stated that they would only be allowed out of the country for a maximum of 7 days per trip and 45 days per year. He added that the delegations of the President, Vice President, and First Lady would only comprise staff with a direct role in scheduled activities. Now, health authorities in Kenya are investigating an unidentified illness after more than 90 schoolgirls were admitted to hospital. The students from Erigi Girls High School, located in the west of the country, had difficulties walking and symptoms of knee pain. A senior Ministry of Education official who visited the school on Tuesday told worried parents that the situation was under control. He stated that classes would continue as normal for other pupils. Blood, urine, and stool samples from the ill student were sent to laboratories in Kisumu, a neighboring city, and the capital, Nairobi. Conclusive results to determine the cause of the illness are expected later on Wednesday. Now, the government has disclosed that it had a number in a statement on Tuesday. Niger has banned all exports of liquefied petroleum gas until further notice. The statement also disclosed that the national production should be used to supply the domestic market, and in case of surplus, a special authorization can be requested to export it. Niger normally exports its surplus petroleum gas to neighboring Nigeria. Now, the European Union on Tuesday pledged a $680 million aid package for Ethiopia that was delayed due to 2020 to 2022 civil war in its northern Tigray region. Thousands died and millions were displaced in a 2-year conflict between the government and regional forces from Tigray. The conflict formally ended last November. The United Nations stated that the restrictions on access to Tigray during the war pushed many of its 5.5 million residents to the brink of starvation, and aid groups. The peace deal has largely held, but UN experts say there have been ongoing atrocities there since the end of the war in Tigray. According to UN figures, clashes also broke out in late July in neighboring Amhara region, where at least 183 persons have been killed. The aid package had been due to be disbursed between 2021 and 2027. Ethiopia's Finance Minister Ahmed Shide disclosed that the aid deal signified the strategic importance of Ethiopia's partnership with the EU. In the same vein, the Ethiopian ambassador in Sudan confirmed that Ethiopia's embassy in the Sudanese capital Khartoum has come under attack with heavy weapons. Yabital Arimirio, the Ethiopian ambassador to Sudan, confirmed to the reporters that there were no casualties in the attack, but the embassy's building was partially damaged. The Sudanese Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF), which has been fighting the army since 15 April, has blamed the military for the attack. The Sudanese army has not commented on the Tuesday attack. It is not the first time the Ethiopian embassy in Khartoum has been attacked. Now, Tunisia's public prosecutor detained Abir Morsi, a permanent opponent of President Kais Saied, after she was arrested at the entrance to the presidential palace on Tuesday. Authorities were not immediately available to comment. Police this year have detained more than 20 leading political figures, accusing some of plotting against state security. Saied has described those detained as terrorists, traitors, and criminals. An assistant of Morsi stated in a video on Facebook that Morsi was kidnapped in front of the Carthage Palace. Morsi leads the Free Constitutional Party and is a supporter of late President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, who was toppled by mass protests in 2011. In recent months, the party has organized protests against Saied. Morsi accuses Saied of ruling outside the law and disclosed that she is ready to make personal sacrifices to save Tunisia. In front of La Goulette police station, dozens of angry Morsi supporters protested, shouting slogans against Saied amid a heavy police contingent who cordoned off the building. Earlier on Tuesday, Morsi stated in a video that she went to the presidential reception office to file an appeal in local elections expected at the end of the year. She said that this step was necessary so that she could later file an appeal in the administrative court. Saied, a retired law professor who was elected president in 2019, shut down the elected parliament in 2021 and moved to rule by decree, actions his opponents described as a coup. Saied has said he needed to save Tunisia from years of chaos, denying his actions were a coup. On Friday, jailed opposition leader Rached Ghannouchi, another critic of Saied, began a 3-day hunger strike. Later, 5 other prominent opposition figures also went on hunger strike in prison. And that's it on the world news and VOP TV. VOP Business Show is coming up next. I am Kayla Abraham. Thanks for watching.